Warning: the following video contains discussion of child abuse. Hi, and welcome back to Trich Vlog. Today's is gonna be heavy. And I'm going to talk about my early life and the beginnings of my Trichotillomania. This is something I've been struggling with in terms of coming to record it, because I was going to do it. I've been off this week, I booked it off, and it's going to do it Monday, and then I stopped myself from doing it. I was going to do it Tuesday, then I stopped myself from doing it. I was going to do it yesterday, and then I stopped myself from doing it. So now it's Thursday, and I woke myself up because I've just got to get it over with. So any of you that know me will know that I have autism. Pretty much since I left school, it's not really been a problem because it's mostly numbers. I don't do well with numbers. They scare me. So pretty much in my adult life, it's not really been that much of an issue. Occasionally when I read things, I'll misread them. Key example, I once misread the word gasoline as lasagna, albeit it was written on a t-shirt, but still doesn't make sense. And then the usual permission as persimmon. That was a fun quest in Guild Wars. Forging persimmons. Yay. But yeah, in my adult life, because I'm borderline, I'm on the borderline, I'm functional autistic, kinda. I can still have a job, I can still have a relationship. Fortunately, my boyfriend also works with autistic children, so he knows how to handle me when I have my moments. Because I'm basically a child who has makeup and fancy earrings and heels. I don't really know how to go into this. I was abused mostly physically by my stepmother, and well into adulthood by my mother, who I'll get to later. Her main punishment for, I suppose, existing was locking me in the basement for what felt like hours. No lights except from the light under the door. So all I'd have to do is sit with my back to the door, just staring down into this dark abyss of a basement. And I must have been about 4 when this started. So this was early years. And when it wasn't being locked in the basement, it was... I have a scar on the back of my hand. A lot of the time I feel like my childhood was a fever dream because I try not to remember it. But I have a scar on the back of my hand from... I was a kid. And she was taking us to IKEA for some reason, and I didn't want to get out the car, so she grabbed me by the hand and then she dug her thumb into my hand, her thumbnail into my hand. So when people ask me where I get the scar from, I just say it's from a nail and don't really delve much further beyond that. There was also, so I've been choked, hit, locked in a basement, but some of the things that she punished me for were just stupid, right? Up until about the age of 8, I refused to eat anything other than sausage, chips and beans. If it was anything other than that, I would scream, and my family would handle that okay. My stepmother, however, when I refused to eat her lasagna, decided the best method was to grab me by the hair and hold my face in the lasagna. I was a little kid, and just as someone who wants to be a parent in the future, I can't imagine ever doing that to a child. It's insane. She was insane. She also, I got food on my face after one meal, and she choked me with a napkin because my face was dirty. Again, I was about 5, and this was around the time when I started pulling, and it was never as bad as it is today. It was like little bits, because my family would always grab my hands and stop me. I was also a chronic nail biter as well. I used to bite my thumbs until they'd get infected, and ever had to pop a thumb? Not fun. But I usually don't bite my nails, she says, biting her nails. They usually grow okay. But when she found out that I'd been pulling, because I was very bad at hiding it, she made my dad edit a family photo of me bald, and she was smirking. She was like, "That's what's going to happen to you if you pull your hair, because that's how you handle mental illness. You just make fun of them until they stop." Yeah, no. It was shit. It was very shit. And I have siblings. One from her who I haven't seen since he was 2, pretty much. But he'll probably be in his 20s now. Not that I've seen him. But I fought with my siblings a lot. Mostly my brother, who was a very violent child. And it was very funny a lot of the time because he was so little. There's like a 6-year age gap between us. And when he turned a teenager, he actually mellowed out. I thought it'd get worse, but he made me a cup of tea once when I was late for community college, and I was like, what's going on here? Is this a ruse? But it wasn't a ruse. It was actually a lovely cup of tea. And I wouldn't say we're close now, but occasionally we look at each other. If we see each other in the street, we'll yell at each other and insult each other. But that's our relationship. And my sister pretty much stopped fighting with my sister when my brother was born and started fighting my brother. Pretty much from the age of 3, he was a little terror. But then again, this kid was born to fire starter, so... But when I wasn't having my door kicked down by my siblings at home, I was being quite heavily bullied at school. one time in high school as well, I had this girl was trying to trip me up during PE, and we were doing that thing where you run onto the flappy board onto the horse thing, and she kept trying to trip me up as I was running to it. So I turned around and I slapped her because that's all I could think to do. I kept telling her to stop and the teacher wasn't doing shit. So I get to the changing rooms and I'm in the corner changing by myself, as I usually do. And she has rallied almost the entire class to beating the shit out of me. One girl even broke my nose, and it was only 3 girls who weren't in the fight. One of them pulled me out, and 2 of them dragged me to the nurse's office, where I left a trail of blood along the school grounds. In my delirium, I thought it was funny. And you could even see it for like about a week until it rained. That's not really something like people are like, oh, I was bullied at school. Yeah, pretty much everyone was bullied at school. You're either the bully or the bullied. Like, it's just something that happens. Kids can be mean. Kids can be horrible to each other. And I dealt with a lot of entitled parents who are like, oh, my little baby would never do that. And then you see me in the corner with like black eyes, like, really, hun? Are you being serious, Karen? One woman who in primary school, her twins used to pick on me a lot. One of the twins was pretty much the ringleader of the 2. And she was like, oh, they get picked on a lot because they're twins. And I'm like, no, then don't. They're the most popular kids in school. Stop trying to play it up. Yeah, my mother, who I'm no contact with now. She is either narcissistic or a sociopath or both. She will, if she's losing an argument, she will fake cry to get her way. The last Christmas I had with my family, she did that. She ran upstairs to dramatically cry because I wouldn't be in the same room as her. Though when I'm in the same room as her, I feel physical, I don't know what it is, but I feel physical pain in my shoulders from where she used to just grab me. And it was never her fault, though. It was never her fault. She can't be at fault. She's perfect. But even though she is a piece of work and I refuse to have her in my life, and if I have kids, I refuse to have her in their lives either. Like, she will not see them. And I'll be damned if she even knows they exist. I'm very strict no contact, even though she sends me letters occasionally, and it's laughable. It's laughable. I just don't want that person in my life. She's toxic. She's a piece of shit, and you shouldn't have to have that in your life. You shouldn't have to have someone who will scream at you until you have a panic attack 1 minute and then be like, oh, she's my precious baby, the next to her friends. I saw one of her friends, who I used to babysit for occasionally, at my work, and she was like, oh, how's your mum? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't talk to her since she kicked me out. And she's like, she never mentioned that. And I'm like, sure she didn't. It's a shit thing. But I had to be sent to therapy as a kid. Because in primary school, I can't even remember her name, Mrs. Bird? Or Mrs. Smith? I was in one of her classes and I'd been pulling my hair out because the kids were being mean to me, as they always did, and I chucked my hair in the bin. Like, I went up to the bin to sharpen my pencil and then threw my hair in the bin, and she found it and she kept it, and she called, I think it was my mum and my grandma was there. It was a long time ago. It was actually 20 years ago, so that's a long time. And she pointed it out to them, and I went to a couple of different therapists to try and figure out what's up, and they mostly went on about my trichotillomania, about my autism and the child abuse. The trichotillomania, I was given a couche ball, which is like a little ball with elastic bands on it. I've talked about it before in my first video, and a pamphlet about trichotillomania, but there wasn't really anyone I could talk to. It's not like today where my trichotillomania came back and I was able to go online and meet people, physically meet people, but I was able to talk to people. But I had some really good doctors, and for my autism I was put in a group with other kids with the same condition or similar conditions, and it was once a week. It was every Wednesday. I got to miss a class because of it, which to me was the best thing. Any time out of school for anything. Dentist, yes, I don't mind. And they always had a tray of biscuits, most of which I ate. You can't put biscuits in front of me and not expect me to eat them all. It's kill or be killed when it comes to biscuits. I'm not sure whether that's a British thing or anything, but but the main thing about the therapy was meeting other people with the condition or talking to other people with a condition. And for my Trich, it was mostly finding things to do with my hands that wasn't pulling. So my therapist suggested when I was feeling upset or angry, I would read, or because I was, and I still am, an avid reader. I think it was during the time that the series of Unfortunate Event books were coming out, and that was my thing. That and the Chronicles of Narnia, of which I have 1, 2, 3 whole sets, one of which is an entire book with all of them in. Can you tell what's my favourite series? I can't. And it's just coming up with things, what I like to call the art of distraction, which is mainly why I got into origami, and I might even do an origami tutorial at some point in the future, but origami was something that pretty much took over my life. I have many of these around my room. And if it's not the origami cranes, it'll be other little origami figures. But yeah, the main thing about therapy that helped was being able to put a name to something, because think of it like demons. If you know a demon's name, it's less powerful. maybe. I might be thinking about wizards. And having the ability to put a name to my condition, whether it was my autism or my trichotillomania, it helped so much. Being able to say, yes, I have this condition, it helps. It helps a hell of a lot. And the more you say its name, the less power it has. Or at least that's what I like to say. I'm surprised I haven't cried, actually, so far. Which is a good thing, because I'm an ugly crier. But that's... I think I'm going to end it there. This is heavy. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye. Thank you for watching. If you or anyone you know struggles with trichotillomania, I urge you to talk with a doctor, psychiatrist, or a friend that you trust. Or, if you don't feel comfortable with talking, then the NHS website has information for you to look through.